Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, making these figures was very fun to do. I loved making every single one.
It is time to take the next step on your journey.
I'm not going to be the Dragon Warrior anymore?
I am doing something to celebrate Kung Fu Panda 4. So yes, I'll probably do a custom minifigure showcase again, which to show my progress off of, here we go. Here it is right here. So then I made the full Kung Fu Panda showcase for my third one, and then I'm making a new one now for Kung Fu Panda 4, which is going to basically be some of the new characters that appear in the movie, as well as redoing every single figure. Thank you so much. I mean, I know this isn't as big as the Kung Fu Panda showcase, because right now, the Kung Fu Panda showcase, because I think a lot of people have questions on why is this video taking so long. And Book of Life had a video already. It actually did pretty well, and this still doesn't have a video yet. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And today I am back with a brand new video. Of course, today I'm going to be shooting my Lego Kung Fu Panda Remastered showcase. Now, yes, I know this video has taken about 2 years to finish. I announced this showcase all the way back in December of 2023, and I am now bringing you this showcase in July of 2025, which is pretty crazy. And I know I've taken a very long time. I know I've been gone for a really long time as well. All that stuff will be explained at the very end of the video, but I am just super stoked to be showing you guys what I've been working on for the past 2 years. Of course, this showcase has about 32 all brand new, unique customs that I have been working on for a really long time. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started with this showcase, starting off with the Dragon Warrior himself, Po. So here's the first figure. We have Po the Dragon Warrior. And as you guys can see, he is very different compared to the first time that I ever made this figure, way back when in the first Kung Fu Panda showcase. Which, of course, the big difference is this brand new sculpted torso that I made for him, which for a lot of these figures, I did a lot of brand new techniques that I did use on other figures, which I will show later in the video. But of course, the big thing about all these figures is I really wanted all of them to be size accurate. So there are a lot of big people, there's a lot of tall people, and I made sure that they were all size accurate to the films, and I tried my hardest. Some of them are not, but of course, this is still Lego. There are going to be things that are not going to be size accurate, but that is okay. They are much closer than they were than the first showcase, and I think Po turned out really awesome, and he's one of my favorite figures in the showcase. Now, I did actually go through a bunch of different versions of Po, mostly paint jobs and different sculpts. I went through this figure about 3 times before I finally had this head sculpt that I was proud of, and he is very big compared to a normal minifigure as in mass, and basically, yeah, as in mass. What I did with him and a lot of other figures is I actually did a double torso technique, which means that I used a normal torso, which I cut 2 other torsos and put them at the sides and then sculpted around it, as you guys can see, which if I remove one of his arms, I'll remove this one so you guys can see. You can actually see that there is a big, giant, sculpted kind of thing in there to make it look like his torso is much bigger and bulkier. And I think I did a really good job at that. And of course, he also does come with his staff that is in the 4th movie, because in the 3rd movie, it's gold, but in the 4th, it's green, which this is 3D printed, which that was another big thing with this showcase, is that there's a lot of 3D printed elements, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I really do love the paint job that I did. The face is absolutely amazing. I am very happy with the shape that I went for, and it is really cool. But if you do put his head on a normal minifigure body, really meant for Po, Po's head from the figure that I made, the body And yeah, it is pretty funny. I do love his pants that I painted for him, and he does use minifigure legs, and you can move him just a little bit, but his belly does get in the way. So yeah, man, there's Poe. And then also I did use 2 arms as well, just to bulk out and make Poe much bigger than a normal minifigure. So yeah, there is Poe the Dragon Warrior. Now time to go on the next figure. Here is the next figure we have is Zhen, and I think she turned out pretty cool now. Besides my points on the movies, I won't really spread my information of the movies because I didn't really like her in the 4th movie. I thought she was okay, but this is a Kung Fu Panda showcase, so I kind of have to show her. Anyway, here is Zhen, and she does use a pretty cool technique, which I started doing for these figures, is actually doing mini doll minifigures, which is basically using a mini doll as a base, which is what I did for her. I used a mini doll torso, cut off the arms, and then used the minifigure hands, and then sculpted her arms basically. And then I also used mini doll legs and basically cut that off. And I think it actually works out really well for her and her size that she is in the movie. She does look really nice next to Poe, as you guys can see here, which I originally did think about using a minifigure for her, which here's the preview image of that. It did not look good at all, so I decided to go for a mini doll, as you guys can see, and the head is fully sculpted. Once again, everything is fully sculpted by me, and I did use a minifigure stud as a base, which you guys can see that's kind of the mini doll neck piece, which is pretty cool, and I think she turned out really awesome. I also do love her huge tail back here, which is pretty cool. And what's also cool about making a mini doll figure is you can actually give her Poe staff, which is kind of also why I made her a mini doll, so she could hold stuff. So yeah, there she is. She's a pretty cool figure, and I really do love this brand new head sculpt that I did do. This is a new thing because our original head sculpt was not that good. I did not like it at all. So yeah, there's Zhen. Pretty cool figure. Here is probably one of my favorite figures in the showcase. We have Shifu, and compared to his original one, yeah, he definitely went through a big time changing, and I think he turned out really good compared to his original one. Of course, one of the big things that you guys can see is he is definitely much smaller, which compared to Poe, he is definitely much more size accurate than he. Which this technique I actually introduced with EB from the Hop, which is basically a thing where I take 3 bricks or 3 plates, put them on top of each other, and then sculpt around it to make a body for them. And I also use minifigure hands as well. The reason why I did that is so he could hold minifigure accessories. But yeah, of course, you can give him Oogway staff from the first Kung Fu Panda film, which I think is pretty cool. It is a bit awkward, yes, but that is something that you can do. And I think he looks really awesome. This is my 2nd or 3rd attempt actually at this figure. I didn't really like the previous head sculpt. It was a bit too kind of young for Shifu. Shifu's definitely older, so I definitely kind of cleaned up the face, made it much older and wiser. And I really do love the body, and I think I did a better job at this technique than I did with EB from the Hop, which, yeah, I do like it a lot. And his head is removable if you guys want, and it is a bit loose than I wanted to. I wasn't really planning on his head being this big when I originally made him because it was for that young-ish version of him, I guess. But I do think that this looks really cool. So yeah, there is Shifu. Here is another pretty good figure. We have Oogway, and I really love this version of Oogway compared to the original. I really love this brand new version, which I think I did a pretty good job, and it was very hard to actually obtain this Oogway. The sculpt, I did do a lot of sculpting for this guy, so the first thing that I actually did is this figure had a bunch of other different versions of him and paint jobs and everything. I didn't like the way the head was going. It didn't look that good, and I thought it was kind of trash. So I went for a brand new head sculpt, as you guys can see here, and a new shell that actually has a sculpted version of his kind of, I guess, cape that he has in the first movie. The original had a cloth, which I thought that was pretty good, but the color wasn't as good, and it didn't have the symbol on there as well. So I went for this version. And I think it turned out really good. And he does use a short minifigure as a base, but I kind of did sand down the bottom of the torso a little bit, as you guys can see, so I could get so it could be a little bit shorter, and I think it looks really cool. And I do also love the paint job on him. Yes, it is a bit messy, but that kind of is how Oogway is in the film. I also did sculpt his arms and his fingers that he has, which you can move his arms just a little bit, which is pretty cool. And I do love his fingers and the toes. And yeah, he also does have his staff like I showed with Shifu. And yeah, he's a very cool figure. I did use a little bit of metallic green paint back here to get the way of how his cape is. And I did also paint a little bit of his shell underneath here as well. So yeah, there is Oogway. And I'm very happy of this brand new version. So yeah, there's Oogway. Pretty cool figure. Here is the next figure we have is Tigress, and I am very happy on how this head sculpt turned out. And yeah, this head sculpt was very, very, very difficult to do. As you guys can see, I went through a lot of attempts with Tigress's head sculpt, and it took me forever to finally get the shape that she has in the movie with these big, prominent kind of eyebrows, as well as the side. It was just very, very difficult to do, and I'm finally happy that it turned out exactly how I wanted it to. And also, compared to the original, yes, the new one is definitely superior as always. And what is pretty cool is I actually went for a different costume than I did with the original, which, unlike a lot of the other figures, I actually do still have the original with me right here. So here's the original. And what is pretty cool is I went for her 3 and 4 outfit, kind of, not the 1 and 2. I went for her gold kind of chi outfit because it was something new and different, and you guys haven't seen kind of this outfit before. So I decided to go for this. And what also made this pretty cool is you could take the original torso and you could actually interswap both of these Tigress figures together. So you could have her costume from the first movie, because this isn't a bad, yes, it's still messy, but yeah, this isn't kind of a bad torso. I could have repainted it, but I still thought that this was a very cool kind of thing that you could do. And I made sure that the colors kind of match a little bit with the arms, because I think that's a pretty cool play feature. But of course, this is kind of the only minifigure in the showcase that kind of uses a straight minifigure kind of body. I think there are some others, but this is kind of a straight dead minifigure kind of template a little bit. I did add a kind of card right here for her little chi flap in the front. I did sculpt her tail on the back, and I also did do the card thing as well on the back. And I just really love this head sculpt. I think it turned out really good. Also did sculpt it on the arms to make her arms a bit more poofier, like in the second movie. So yeah, man, there is Tigress. And of course I also did paint her feet, which do wrap around all the way around, which I think turned out really cool. So yeah, there is Tigress, one of my favorite Furious 5 members that I think turned out pretty well. Here is Monkey, and Monkey was pretty simple to make. He definitely is better, obviously, than the original. Here's the original if you want to compare both of them together. I do love the colors with this monkey much more than the original. The original monkey does still hold up pretty well. I don't like it as much as I like this one, but it is one of the better original figures, which, as you guys can see, he was pretty simple to make. His head sculpt only took about 1 try to nail, and I think I did pretty well. You cannot move it, unlike the first one. You cannot take his head off, which this is actually not a short minifigure. This is a shorter minifigure, as you guys can see. I did cut down the torso a little bit, so he could be shorter and his arms could be more closer to the ground like they are in the movie. And I did give him a stick as an accessory, but removing that, I really love how the head sculpt turned out. It definitely looks a lot like Monkey, and I love the expression that I got with that smile in his nose. And I also did sculpt his ears and everything, and his big giant tail. I love this tail that I did where it's actually looping around, which is pretty cool. And I do love his kind of boots and everything. It looks really nice. And yeah, turned out really cool. Pretty simple because he kind of uses a normal minifigure base, but it is cut down a little bit, so he is a bit shorter than a normal minifigure. But yeah, there's Monkey. Turned out pretty cool. Up next is Viper, and Viper turned out pretty cool. She isn't as different as the original, as you guys can tell. She's just a little bit refined more in the face and everything like that, but she is definitely one of the more simpler characters because obviously she is just a snake. So what I did is I just sculpted kind of a body for her and a head, and I think I did really well, which I actually did sculpt her eyelashes on this time, which I think the expression is really nice. And also I did paint kind of a little bit of what her symbols are on the back and on the back of the head as well. And I do love the shape that she kind of has. She is a bit long, but I think she did turn out really well with her tail as well. And yeah, it's pretty cool, simple figure. She does still have a stud at the bottom so she can connect to a minifigure stand from the CMF series. But yeah, she is a pretty cool figure, and yeah, really nice. Here's one of the smaller figures in the showcase. We have Mantis, and Mantis turned out really good compared to the original. I love this Mantis. I love the pose that I got him in and everything. And it was much easier because, as you guys can see, I actually did sculpt onto a Lego stud piece, which I wasn't really planning on doing that, but it does get the position right really well. And he is very tiny, just like the original. And originally I was planning on just using the original sculpt, but I didn't think that was kind of cheap maneuver, and I didn't really like the position it is. And I much rather have this position, which, yes, I know he's on a stud. Yes, I know that. And sometimes, yeah, he does fall front, but I love the way I did Mantis and everything like that. I love his eyes as well. It's just a much better paint job because it was easier to paint him compared to the original. In my hand, he is very small, as you guys can see. He's super small. But he did turn out to be a really cool figure. So yeah, there is Mantis. So here's Crane, and I think he is probably the biggest change out of the first one. Maybe the second change, but he's definitely a big one in my eyes because I hated the original Crane. I thought he was absolutely awful, which compared to the original, here's the original right here, and oh my god, I did not like it. I hated it. I thought it was really big. It reminded me of Big Bird, and I didn't like him at all. And compared to this one, I love this new one, which I also still do have the old one, which if you guys want to see a little bit, I did remove his hat, but yeah. I liked all the playability that he had. He could move his arms, as you guys can see. He could move his legs, yeah. But the face, I did not like the face. The face did not look good at all. And I really love the way that I was actually able to turn it around with this Crane because he turned out really good. And yeah, this is my third attempt at making Crane. Here are the other attempts right here, which they aren't bad, but I just thought I could do better. So here is this new one, which he actually uses a lot of 3D printed elements. And yeah, he is pretty cool. So of course the head was pretty difficult, but I thought I did a pretty good job. The head is sculpted, as you guys can see, but his beak was actually used with 2 toothpicks because toothpicks are very thin, and you can basically, I took 2 of them and then sanded them down so they could turn out to be skinny like this and turn out to be a really cool beak shape. And his neck is actually one of those black horn pieces, which I think also turned out really well to give that aesthetic curve, which I did use a normal minifigure hat, as you guys can see, and I did sculpt it a little bit at the top. And his head and neck is actually removable by the a little stud in here, which I did paint this because this is gray. This was a gray neck, but yeah, it is kind of hard to get the kind of the head in there, but as soon as you do, it looks really good. And his torso actually uses a 2 ball joint kind of connections, so he can move his wings to do really awesome kung fu moves and everything like that, which I think looks really nice. Which, yes, these wings are 3D printed, which I do love the way I got all the wings and everything, kind of the feathers and they look really cool. And also, the legs are battle droid legs, which most of the birds in this showcase do use battle droid legs, just to keep consistency with all of them, which I did sand them down a little bit to make them look like they're much thinner than they are. And a big thing with this and another character is I was going to sculpt his toes, but I just thought it wasn't necessary because they kind of do look a bit weird. I just think that he looks fine like this. So there's Crane. One of my favorite kind of redo figures because I just really love the way I was able to get him. And a big thing is that he is actually much more closer to how tall Poe is in the film, which compared to the original, yeah, he was very huge, and I don't think that anybody is going to be size accurate to this guy. So I am very happy with this new Crane, which I think turned out really well. So yeah, there's Crane. So here's the next figure. We have Zeng, and I know this is a bit of a weird kind of character to have in this showcase, but which I think I did a pretty good job with him. As you guys can see, he does use kind of the goose mold, which you guys haven't seen. The original goose, which is Mr. Ping, you guys will see him later in the showcase, but of course he does use that, which is basically 3 studs, and I sculpted around it and then sculpted the head and then the beak, so I could make him look like he is very worried and nervous, which I think I did a pretty good job on. And I really like him a lot. I love his outfit that I made for him, and he's pretty cool. But the reason why I kind of made him, this is kind of a 2-in-1, because of course I wanted to put Commander Vachir in this showcase, which he is actually the guard in the Jorgom prison, I think it is, in the first movie that is holding Tai Lung. So here is Commander Vachir. And him and Zeng are actually new customs that I made this year. A lot of them I made a couple years ago, but he is one of the new ones, which I think I did a pretty good job on. The way I made him is I actually used 2 minifigure torsos and then just kept sculpting around him over and over. I put some studs at the bottom here, but I kept sculpting to get the big kind of physique that he has in the film, which he does have these big minifigure arms too, which I did use 2 minifigure arms, then sculpted those both together to create the big buff look. And his head is a minifigure head that I also sculpted, and I think he looks really cool. I love his open expression, and he looks really mad. And him next to Zeng is a very good combo. That's kind of why I wanted to make him, because they're kind of funny in the film. Him being like a big, giant kind of, I don't know, just being rude, I guess. But I really love kind of the Rhino that I painted on here, as well as I also painted the little dragon tattoo that he does have in the film. And he does also have a lot of armor. And yeah, he's very big and bulky and very heavy. And he is very tall compared to Poe, as you guys can see. Which these figures turned out really cool. And I am super happy on how Commander Vachir and Zeng turned out. So yeah, there they are. And rest in peace to the person who actually played Commander Vachir. He died a long time ago, but he did a very good job with this voice, and may you rest in peace, because yeah, he did a really good job. Yeah, there are them, and now we're going to move on to the next figures. Here is another brand new figure in this showcase. We have Shan, and he is Poe's biological father, if you don't know. But I think he turned out really cool, which he was very difficult to make because of his head. You guys seen him in the movie. He is a very, he had a very difficult way of making the head, which the pandas, this is kind of the panda part of the video, but the pandas are very difficult to make. As you guys can see with Poe, he looks really good, but they are just very difficult to make. Their heads are just very strange, the way that they kind of look, which of course here is his head. His head is removable. It does use I think a cylinder or minifigure head, but he does use the same technique as Poe, using kind of 3 minifigure torsos, 2 on the side, 1 in the middle, which to give the kind of big body that he has in the film. But I love the expression that I have on Lee's face, and yeah, just the back of the head just looks very strange, but it does look really nice, and it kind of looks weird when you kind of turn it a little bit. Just a little bit, it looks kind of weird, but I love the look of it. I did sculpt his 3 outfit, not 4, I didn't really like his 4th outfit. It wasn't that unique, so I went for his 3 outfit, which his legs are not removable. They are sculpted because he has like weird pant shorts things. I don't know, but I think it looks pretty cool. I do love his arms, which uses the same technique as his son, Po, which I think looks really cool. So yeah, there is Lee, Shan, and of course we have another double figure in here because of course we cannot include Lee without including Po's non-biological father. We have Mr. Ping, and here is Mr. Ping, and oh my god, another one where the new one is much more superior than the original. The original is very big and huge, and I just did not like it at all. I thought it was really weird. I just didn't like it at all. Here it is. The hands are not there, but here is the original Mr. Ping. And yeah, it does not look good next to Lee, or it does not look good next to Mr. Ping, which I really love the way Mr. Ping turned out with the face and everything. I love how the noodle hat and everything turned out. And this took me a couple tries to actually get it at this way. If you guys can see the old images, he was one of the figures that took me forever to get down. I couldn't get down Mr. Ping at all. Even my friends started making fun of me because it just looked terrible. It was one of the worst figures, and he was one of my least favorites. And I'm very happy with this final version because I really love how he turned out, which once again, like Zeng over here, which they kind of do share similar bodies, but they are a bit different. But Mr. Ping kind of has the open mouth, which was very difficult. I kind of had to sculpt it in sections on top of sections to finally get it to the way I was happy with, which of course, once again, I used 2 studs and then sculpted a neck and a head. And I do love his noodles with his noodle chopsticks right here, and then also his noodle bowl on top. And I love the expression with the very happy kind of face, which looks really cool. And I also did sculpt his tail back here, which these 2 guys look really awesome with each other. Here is Po's dad's. I think they turned out really cool. And it's one of my favorite parts of Kung Fu Panda 3, if you guys were wondering. But yeah, I really love these figures. Here is another new figure we have is Mei Mei, and she is from Kung Fu Panda 3. She is the ribbon dancer, and I really liked her design and everything, so I really wanted to kind of go for it. And she was very difficult to make, but I think she turned out really good. She is much taller than she should be in the film. She's one of the ones who's much taller. She should be shorter than Lee, but pretty good. Anyway, getting rid of her accessories so we can actually take a look at the figure right now. The way I made her was kind of the same. I kind of just used 2 minifigure torsos again, and then kind of just sculpted the arms so they're really big. But I do actually have a bigger base down here because she does have a much bigger body, I guess you could say. But I still think that she turned out really, really cool. I love the face, turned out really cool. I love her eyes and everything. I think it turned out really cool with kind of the way I made the face, which it is pretty cool. As you guys can see, she does have a minifigure head underneath here, which is pretty cool. And yeah, she also does have kind of her outfit. I didn't paint every single design that she has in the film, like all the silver designs and everything, because I thought it was a bit too much and it would kind of muddy the figure a little bit. So I just went for this. And she does have a pair of nunchucks that Po gives her at the end of the movie, which I think is pretty cool. And these are not Lego's official nunchucks. These are just ones that I made with a chain with 2 sculpted bits, and then also with 2 brown bars, which I think turned out pretty cool. And I also did make her ribbon because, yes, she is a ribbon dancer, and I had to make her ribbon, which does use electrical tape, which I just folded it in half and then painted it with a kind of sparkly red to give it that kind of ribbon flare. And then I did sculpt at the top, and I did put it on top of black bar, which I think looks really cool. So yeah, there is Mei Mei here. Here is a very, very, very minor character from Kung Fu Panda 3, but I loved her design and I had to make her. This is Grandma Panda, or Ting Ting, I think her name is. She is the one that's always getting hit in the head with everything, and she's just a grandma panda, as you guys can see. And this was very fun to make. because I really wanted to just make more pandas because I thought that they were fun. And I was starting to finally get down the look that I kind of wanted for the pandas. And she, of course, uses a kind of the round kind of bricks, and I kind of used 2 of those together and then just sculpted everything. So this is a statue figure. There are a couple of statue figures in this showcase where nothing can move. They are just there to be there. And yeah, she does have sculpted arms and a head, which I do love. The expression that I got with her and her little frown that she has in her little cane looks pretty cool. I also did add her chopsticks to her hair, which did add kind of the detail that the grandma has in the film. So yeah, there is Grandma Panda. So here's Bao. He is one of the panda kids in the film, and he has a very minor role, but I thought he was pretty fun, so I decided to make him. And yeah, of course, to make him, I used 3 plates on top of each other and then sculpted everything. I think it turned out really cool, and he is just another really cool one to add to kind of the panda family, I guess you can say. And he does have his little hat that he has in the film, as well as he has his little kind of jacket that he has and everything like that. And I do also love his kind of belt that wraps around, which I think turned out pretty cool. But he is now one of the most iconic panda kids in the film. I feel like one of the most iconic ones in the third one is probably one of my, I don't know, I have a lot of favorites, but this is one of my favorites. We have Lei Lei. And if you guys don't remember who Lei Lei is, she is actually the one who has the little Tigress toy in the film. So I had to sculpt her because I thought it'd be really cool that I'm making Tigress. And I also have her as a toy, which the toy is actually based off the first movie. But I thought it was very cool, and I had to make her. And I really love her outfit and everything like that. But I really love how I actually took a micro minifigure piece, which I actually do have one over here. Here it is. I took one of these. I sculpted the head and everything for Tigress and kind of sculpted everything that I needed on there and then painted a little bit of detail in there to make it look like the toy. And I also did give a flower in her hair. But yeah, of course, one of the big things is that I wanted to actually display her with Tigress, which is what she can do, and I think she turned out really cool, or at least stand next to her, which I think both of these panda kids turned out really cool, but I really love Lei Lei. I really love the design for everything in her head. Turned out really cool. So yeah, those are Bao and Lei Lei. Lei Lei is personally one of my favorites because of the Tigress toy, but yeah, there they are, and now time to go on the next figures. Here's Master Ox, and now we're on to the Masters part of the showcase. The way I made him was basically using the same kind of torso method I used for Poe. So yeah, they basically had the same method where I basically used a torso in the middle and then 2 torsos on the side. And I did sculpt kind of the whole body a little bit to create the heft that he has in the film. And also he has the sculpted head, which I think turned out really cool. I love his big giant eyebrows that I made, and his mouth turned out really good as well. I love his horns. His horns look really nice, and I think I did a really good job. And I also really love the way that I did his whole kind of chain thing. And yeah, very simple figure, but very effective. He does have normal minifigure legs, but I don't really... They're not really meant to be moved. You can move them a little bit, but that's kind of it. Anyway, that's Master Ox. Here's the next figure we have, Master Croc, and he turned out really cool. And for some reason, I have had this guy sculpted for about 2 years, but it finally took me a couple days ago to finally paint this guy. I don't know why it took me forever, probably because of all the dots that I had to paint on this guy, but who cares? I love the way that this figure turned out. I love his huge smile that I sculpted for him. And also his eyes turned out really cool. And I do also love his little things that he has underneath here. I don't know what these are called, but they turned out really cool. He uses a normal minifigure torso, which for some reason I learned the other day, the torso is starting to crack, which I did sculpt all around this guy, so I don't think that he's going to be breaking anytime soon, but he is a still pretty cool figure. He has all his spikes on the back of his tail, as well as his mace, which I think turned out really cool. Very simple, but very effective. And yeah, he does use mid-legs down here. He's one of the figures who uses mid-legs in the showcase, which compared to Monkey, he is a bit almost the same size, just a little bit taller, which that was on purpose. And yeah, really great figure. Of course, his kind of power is kind of having a strong back, I guess. When he fought the Wu sisters, it's kind of where I'm getting my reference from. But yeah, there's Master Croc. So here is Master Thundering Rhino, and oh man, he is one of the very big figures in the showcase. I really love how big I made this guy. So of course, how I made him was I basically used 2 minifigure torsos on the side, and I basically covered that with bricks all the way through. And yes, there are some bricks underneath. I don't know if I can actually remove the feet. I'm not going to try, but yeah, there are bricks all throughout this guy. So I wasn't wasting that much sculpty. And then I did do a minifigure neck in the middle, which yes, his head is removable, and he does use another one of those kind of square cylinder bricks, which his head is not really movable because of his shoulder pads, which kind of removing his head. You can kind of see that. I did sculpt his big giant shoulder pads that he has in Kung Fu Panda 2. He also does have his big giant hammer, which yeah, I think it turned out pretty cool. It's just like a brick on top of a silver pole, nothing that special. But yeah, looking at this guy, I did use normal minifigure arms and then kind of sculpted around. He does have minifigure hands, which I don't have access to the incredible kind of body pieces. I know the knockoffs have started making them, but I haven't ordered any of them in a long time. So he does use normal minifigure hands, which that is so he could hold the cloud hammer, which is what it's called, which I didn't add really any detail to it. I just made it a brick on top of a pole, like I said. But yeah, I did sculpt his kind of sash that he has and everything like that, and the front right there as well. And he is on top of 3 kind of plates, round plates, which I think turned out pretty cool. And he does have detail that goes all throughout, and he does have a very nice sculpted head, which I think turned out pretty cool. So yeah, there's Master Thundering Rhino. I did get scared originally when I made him because I got scared when I made Commander Vachir, because they are both rhinos, but as you guys can see, they are very different from each other. So all my worries went away when I made him. But Master Thundering Rhino was the original, and he is one of my favorites. And yeah, he's a very huge figure, and I really like him a lot. And he does look really nice next to Master Ox and Croc, which I had to make him, even though he meets Master Thundering Rhino meets his demise in Kung Fu Panda 2 by Shen. I still had to make him because this trio is pretty cool next to each other. So yeah, there's Master Thundering Rhino. Here's a pretty minor character. We have Master Bear, who shows up in Kung Fu Panda 3, and he is one of the Jade Zombies, and also one of the people who go to check on Kai with Crane and Mantis earlier in the film. But here he is, pretty simple figure, and one of my not favorites in the whole showcase, just because he's very minor, but I think he turned out pretty cool. He does use, for his weapons, I did 3D print these. Originally, I did cut some Legos to actually make this, but I didn't really like it, so I just did that. So removing those for just a second, I think they turned out pretty cool. But yeah, the main figure is really nice. He uses Poe's body once again, because they are both bears. And yeah, he does have the kind of the head, which I think turned out pretty cool, and it did sculpt his little goatee. So yeah, there's Master Bear, and since I'm showcasing Master Bear, I guess I have to show off Master Chicken, which is another figure that I added to the showcase. He, of course, is very simple to make. All I did was just use a cylinder and basically sculpt all around that. I sculpted his eyebrows as well as his kind of beak, which I think turned out really good. And I also sculpted both of his arms, kind of like he's coming at you, which, yes, I know Master Chicken and Master Bear are very kind of not really important to Kung Fu Panda 3, but they are kind of cool in their own way. I also do love the way I kind of made his little thing at the top. And yes, they both look really cool in making. Master Chicken was pretty fun, and I love the paint and everything. And yeah, he is a pretty cool figure. So yeah, there is Master Bear and Master Chicken. Here is another very minor character, but if you guys know who this is actually Master Wohop from Kung Fu Panda Holiday Special. Yes, I had to include a holiday special because I thought he was pretty funny in the holiday special. Of course, he is the kind of, how do I put this lightly? I guess he's the bunny that is suicidal, I guess. Yes, that is a thing. Yes, he tries to end it, I guess, and try to throw knives in the air and stuff. And yeah, he is still a pretty cool figure. And next to Poe, they both look really cool, but I really like the way I made him. I kind of made him like I made Master Shifu a little bit. I didn't give him minifigure hands because he's only holding the golden ladle, which is kind of the big chef thing in the film, if you guys haven't seen it. But I love the bunny face. I wanted to kind of make a bunny, so I thought he was pretty important. I love the way I made his snout and everything. It was pretty hard, but I thought it turned out really cool, which once again, he has the ladle in the side, and he does have a bunny tail on the back, which unlike Master Shifu, he can actually move his head a lot more. But yeah, he does use a kind of brick body and then a stud, which is pretty cool. And yeah, really nice figure. Very minor, once again, very minor, but once again, he is a pretty cool character to the holiday special. So yeah, there is Master Wohop. On to kind of a little bit of the miscellaneous area. We are on to the fours, which is basically all of the characters from Kung Fu Panda 4, because yes, there are a lot of figures that were introduced in Kung Fu Panda 4 that have really cool designs, and I decided to make them. Here's the first figure. We have Captain Fish, and Captain Fish is the one that has the pelican with the fish in his mouth, which yes, I actually did make the fish in his mouth, and I thought it turned out really cool. And Captain Fish is very much of a stagnant kind of character. You can't really do anything. His arms aren't movable. His legs aren't movable. They do use the battle droid legs like I told with Crane earlier. He is a bird, so I did use that. But I did sculpt his feet because his feet are a bit bigger than Crane's. But yes, Captain Fish does not move his arms. I did sculpt his arms kind of like this because I didn't want to do another ball joint figure because he is very minor. But I thought the design with the fish in his mouth is pretty cool, which, as you guys can see, I really love the way that this turned out. His neck, once again, uses the horn pieces, which, yes, his neck is removable, which you can remove his neck just like Crane. But I kind of don't remove it that much because, well, it's kind of just a stagnant kind of figure. So I can remove his neck, but I kind of don't want to. Of course, he does have eyes on both sides because he is kind of cross-eyed. And once again, there is a fish poking out of his mouth, which was very difficult to paint, but very fun to sculpt and such a unique design that I had to make him for this showcase. And once again, he does appear in Kung Fu Panda 4. And he is voiced by that kind of like iconic guy. He's kind of like a comedian, but yeah, there's Captain Fish. Pretty cool figure and very random, but cool design. Here is Han, Ke Huy Quan's character from Kung Fu Panda 4, and once again, he is a pretty cool character. I love him as a pangolin. People call him an armadillo, but he is a pangolin. Once again, I made him by basically taking a minifigure torso and little legs, kind of cutting him off and making his arms long, because in the film, as you guys know, his arms are long. And I really love the way that I made kind of his necklace and kind of the scales that he has in the film. I have on his tail and his back, which I think turned out really cool. And his head looks really cool. I did paint some eyes underneath there before I put his hat on. But his head is removable. If you're wondering, you can remove his head, which he does use a very bright yellow torso. But I love his hat. I did kind of bend it a little bit. It is a normal minifigure hat. I just bent it a little bit, and it does have the same thing Crane has at the top. And yeah, really cool figure. I love also his little thing at the bottom, and it just looks a lot like him. So yeah, there is Han. Here is Granny Boar. Pretty cool figure. Took me a while to actually get this design, but the way that I made her, the first design was actually just a normal minifigure. I didn't really like it that much, so I scrapped it, and then I was going to go for a smaller kind of minifigure design. I didn't like that either. So what I decided to do is actually use this design, which this is the same head from the minifigure, but I also combined it with a new torso, which this torso is actually a smaller minifigure torso, which this torso was made for a canceled Lilo and Stitch 3D printed showcase. Yes, I was going to make a 3D printed showcase that I canceled, and I didn't really look back. It didn't turn out that good, and Lego made their own sets, so I kind of repurposed Stitch's torso to be Granny Boar's because it was smaller. And yes, she can still move her arms. I did sculpt this all on one plate. So yeah, and her head is very massive, but in the film, it's kind of massive, and I really love the expression that I got on her, which I think turned out really cool. I love her tusk and her hair that she has, and I think it turned out pretty cool. So yeah, there's Granny Boar. Very kind of minor character, but once again, she was a very fun design to make. And yeah, the original head and everything, it did not look good. I did not like that at all, so I decided not to go for that. So yeah, there is Granny Boar. Starting to round off this showcase, we have Tai Lung. Now we're on to the villains. So here's the first one we have is Tai Lung, and oh my god, I remember when I sculpted this guy's head, I was freaking out. Compared to the original, I don't know what I was on, but the original has the weirdest head sculpt. I don't know why it looks like that. It does not look good, and I did not like it at all. This new one has much defined eyebrows, and I love the way I made it. I don't even know how I made it. It's been so long since I made this guy, but I remember when I first made this guy, I started jumping out of my seat because even just looking at it like this, I was like, oh my god. Like, not even painted. I was just losing my mind because I thought it was awesome. So, yeah, definitely turned out really cool. As you guys can see, he does have the kind of bulkier torso, which once again, I used two minifigure torsos to make it. Compared to Poe, he's a much bigger, much more buffer. And yes, these two look great next to each other. But yeah, I really love the way he looks, and he does have much buffier arms, and he does have the kind of mechanical arms. Once again, I would have used the incredible hands if I had it, but oh well. Yes, of course, once again, the face looks great, and going on to the back, I love all the detail that I made with all of his kind of spots, and then I went with the tail as well. Tai Lung turned out to be one of a really good head sculpt and just a really awesome figure in general. So yeah, there is Tai Lung, and now time to go to the next figure. Okay, here is Lord Shen, and this guy was kind of hard. And if you guys saw the beginning of the video, if you guys kept your eye out on Shen, you guys probably saw his tail, which his tail is probably the big thing that honestly, I really wanted to tell all of you guys about this showcase because of Shen. Shen is honestly one of the most unique, best figures, I think, that I made in this entire showcase. I know I've said that a lot, but Shen is probably one of my favorite, kind of playability-wise, and just everything like that. This guy was very fun to make, and he is one of my favorites. So, of course, unlike the others, Shen is actually one of the figures that I did not touch. So here is the original Shen compared to this one. And as you guys can see, I do not like this original Shen that much compared to this one. This one is very, very close to the on-screen appearance of Shen in the movie, which this guy took me a couple tries to do. Here is the first attempt at this, and Shen is actually probably one of the last figures that I made for this showcase as well, because of his tail. But what I did is I actually made Shen a minifigure originally, and then I thought he was too big. So I decided to scrap him. So I started from scratch, and with this one I actually did use a minifigure body, which I actually, or not a minifigure body, I used a mini doll body, Now, he actually used Olaf's body because it was already round. But I really love Shen. And yes, once again, he is much more height accurate to Poe now. Compared to the original, he was much bigger. But yes, let's just start off with his weapon, I guess. We'll start off with that. Because then we'll break down Shen. Because, yes, once again, Shen is crazy cool. He's like one of my favorites. Here's Shen's weapon. This is a cut Lego piece that I just cut to make it look like his weapon. Painted it silver, and I did sculpt on his little side rims. And yeah, really cool. Compared to the original kind of like swirly thing, I love this one more. So yeah, there it is. So Shen's head is pretty cool. I love the way I made it. And also he does have his eyebrows, and he also has his back fin thing, which was made from a Lego pizza piece, which I just sanded. You guys can kind of see on this side, it was sanded a little bit. And then of course he does have his whiskers, not his whiskers, but his kind of mustache, I guess you could say. And he does have a kind of a peg connection. As you guys can see, he does use the Infinity Stone piece, which is pretty cool. And I think it turned out really well. And he can move his head a little bit, but it is very fragile. The torso, once again, uses Olaf, which I think turned out really cool. And I did put minifigure hands on the sides. And I did kind of sculpt his whole body out and kind of sculpted the back, which I think looks really cool. And then I used his kind of white minifigure hands. And then I took 2 pieces of cloth and used it for his back kind of tail, as well as the front, as well as a little piece of cloth. So there's Shen's figure himself. But the big thing about this that I really couldn't keep my mouth shut, that I was freaking out when I originally made it, is his tail. His tail has a really huge playability feature. So if you guys don't remember the original basically had a clip on the back, which what you did is you move it up, looks like his tail's out, whoa, move back down, and it comes off the clip connection. It's kind of what it did. That kind of sucks about the original. But with this new one, it still has that same clip connection because I thought it was very effective. So basically it has the same clip connection, but the big thing about it is that you can actually fold it out and you can make him stand with his tail out. And if you push it down just a little bit, you can actually make him stand. And it is huge. It is a huge thing. And it was very difficult to make. But as you guys can see, his tail looks really fun. And once again, this is the 3rd time actually I had to paint this. But I had to paint all the detail. And if you go on the back, same thing on the back, same detail. Very difficult. But yes, when you're done, you can fold it back up. And you can put it back down again like this. And you can put his cape over like that. And it's pretty cool. So how do I do this? I'll show you guys how I actually did this. Which, yes, there is a clip which you can disconnect it. So Shen is just like this. And he does stand without the tail. So yeah, but here is the tail and everything. And the way that I made this was actually there is a bar that connects all the way through. And just a simple kind of technique where there's a bar that connects all the way through, where the front tail is actually glued to the spot where it clips. So this front tail cannot move at all. It is stuck there, but the back two has a little kind of peg. And the peg that it had to be was actually this peg. So this peg went all the way through and it would stop right here. I had to cut this part that way that this piece right here that wraps around this was the stopper, because if this piece wasn't here, it would be loose. So it wouldn't be stuck like this. So if I did this, then all the tails would want to fly out. So I had to kind of stick it where it wouldn't go anywhere. And yeah, it really works like that. And you can move the tail out like this. And it's a really awesome effect. It was very difficult, and it is a pretty cool effect. And the fact that he can stand is pretty cool. He can't really stand with it. The tail kind of has to bend a little bit. But every tail piece was all use of Sculpey. Which, looking back on it, I thought maybe I could do paper, but I don't think that would have worked as well. But yeah, the fact that you can actually fold this is really cool. And you can kind of see in there on how it works. But yes, this tail in the middle cannot be moved. It only moves with the connection piece. That way you can always tell where the middle is, kind of. But yeah, the other pieces kind of go like this. Originally, every single feather was going to be on its own. But as you guys know, this is 3 pieces. So you have a side piece, you have the left piece, and you have the middle piece, which all pieces turned out really good. And yeah, once again, I did it where the pole that I used doesn't really mess with the pole, so it doesn't move all around. And once again, you can flash it out or flash it in anytime that you want. And once again, it uses clips down here, and it just is a clip connection. And yeah, it's very, very difficult. The first time that I did it, it took me forever to finally get it down to where it looks the way it looks. And the way I made the cape actually covers the big ugly block right here, because if I didn't add that, it would have looked weird. So I matched the thing that way that it goes on the side like it does in the movie. So yeah, there is Shen, one of my favorite kind of big characters and kind of a lot of people's favorites. I just really love the way I made him, and he is one of my favorite villains, so I really wanted to do him justice. So yeah, there is Shen. Here is Boss Wolf, and he is one of the kind of only henchman characters that I made for this showcase, because he does have a lot of dialogue, and he's just a kind of big character in the film, so I kind of had to add him. Here is his weapon. He has a big mallet that he kind of wields in the film, which I think turned out pretty cool. But getting rid of that, here he is. The way that I made him is basically kind of a normal minifigure cut a little bit, so his arms could be a bit longer. And then also I cut minifigure legs and then put lightsaber legs at the bottom. Yes, I cut lightsabers and then sculpted a little part for his foot. That way that I could get his kind of foot looking thing that he has in the movie. Then he also does have some spikes on this side, and he has a little bit of a rope that is around his arms. He does have his wolf tail, and his head is removable, which he does use a normal minifigure head. But the way I made his head turned out pretty cool. It was really hard to make this smile, but yeah, he does have his little black eye over here, as well as his very smiling kind of evil eye. And I love also the little symbol right here. I tried to make the symbol. Didn't really turn out as good as I hoped, but it's okay. I think he turned out pretty cool. And once again, he is one of the only henchmen I made, because he just has a big role in Kung Fu Panda 2, which when he holds a mallet, he kind of topples over. He does have a spike on the back too. But yeah, once again, he looks pretty cool. And next to Shen, he definitely looks really nice next to him. So yeah, there is Boss Wolf, and yeah, there he is. Here is Michelle Yeoh, also known as the Soothsayer. Pretty iconic voice in Kung Fu Panda 2, and a really important character, because it's kind of the goat that reads the future, that kind of led Shen on his path a little bit, and then also had one of my favorite moments was Po finding the truth on who he really is, which is one of my favorite moments in Kung Fu Panda 2. But here she is. The way I made her is I used a minifigure torso as a base, and then I used a plate at the bottom and kind of sculpted everything around. She can kind of move her arms a little bit. They're like barely movable, but her hands are movable. That's because her kind of horns get in the way, which I do love the face that I sculpted for her, as well as her kind of goat mouth and her little thing down there. She does also have her cane, which is removable if you want. And I kind of made it like that because why not? And I think it turned out pretty cool. And then I also did sculpt her back symbol that she has in the film, as well as all of her layers. I remember she was a very difficult person to make at the time. And she also does have her little things at the top. But yeah, really cool figure. Yeah, there is the Soothsayer. And yeah, time to go on to the next figure. Here is the big figure of the showcase. We have Kai from Kung Fu Panda 3. And once again, compared to the original, I think the original is much better than this one. I'm kidding. Of course, the new one is much better and much bigger and very huge for that matter. He was a very huge figure to make. And yeah, he was a lot of detail. So, of course, size comparisons. Yes, he is much bigger than him. And also he is much bigger than Master Rhino. I wanted to make sure Kai was the biggest figure here, even though in Kung Fu Panda 3, 4, he looks really small. I don't know why they did that, because Kai in the movies is really big, probably because he has all the chi. But here is Kai, and I know he has a really huge hunchback, but that's kind of how it is in the film. But the way that I made him was basically I started off using a couple bricks as a base, and then just kept sculpting layers upon layers upon layers until I finally got to what you guys see here, which this was the biggest sculpted thing almost at the time a little bit, because of all the clay that I used for him. And I think he looks pretty cool. He does use minifigure arms, as you guys can see, which, yeah, I did sculpt around there and everything like that to make it look like Kai, which I love the face. The face turned out really cool, as you guys can see. And I love his jade blade kind of swords. Those were made from Lego pieces that I cut and sand down to make it look like them. And then I used lightsaber kind of pieces also, and then put chains at the bottom of them, and then kind of put them to the back and kind of sculpted them in there, which, yes, Kai does have a lot of painted stuff on here to make him look exactly like how I wanted him to look, which I think he looks really awesome. And yeah, really big figure. His antlers are huge as well, and he does have that hunchback look, but I think it is really awesome. And compared to the original, I think I did a pretty good job, which, yes, I know Kai has big figure arms, but he has minifigure hands. I thought that was pretty funny, but he does have that in the film, so that's why I did that. And then, yeah, he does have a little bit of the chi down here. No, I did not paint every single kind of chi thing that I had. I kind of just made it look like how it does. But, yeah, and then I also did sculpt his hair, which I think his hair turned out really cool. You kind of can't tell that it's hair. Kind of wish I did a bit better on that, but oh well. And then he did paint a little bit of the hair on top of his shoulder. So there is Kai, kind of the big figure of the showcase, and I think I did a pretty good job on him. So yeah, there he is. On to one of the last figures of this showcase. We have the Chameleon, and oh my god, she sucked in Kung Fu Panda 4, man. I really hated the Chameleon in Kung Fu Panda 4. I thought she was fun, but I really did not like her at all. But the figure design, nonetheless, I thought I did a very cool job, which, yeah, definitely not size accurate. If she was size accurate, she would be very, very, very small. But once again, this is Lego, so I kind of had to make her a bit bigger. That's why kind of the size was a bit cut down when it came to really small figures. But yes, the Chameleon turned out really cool. So the way that I made her was I used another mini doll body, and then I cut the hands off and actually used baby hands. I actually cut off the hands and used baby hands, sculpted that on, and then sculpted kind of the back of her stuff. And then I cut down the neck a little bit, that way that I could get kind of the short neck look. And then I also painted and sculpted her little stuff on the side. And her head is very cool. I love the way I made her head, which I think the sculpted look looks really nice. And it was pretty difficult to make, but I'm very happy with how it turned out, which, yes, if you couldn't tell, the hands and back of her headdress are 3D printed. There is no way that I could actually sculpt this because of how small it is. So what I did is I actually sculpted this piece, but this thick, and then I kept sanding it down until I got it to the right thickness that I wanted it to, because if it was really thin, it wouldn't have looked good. I tried to sculpt it originally, but it just didn't look good. I couldn't get the detail in there, so I went into Tinkercad and actually kind of edited it all to make it look like her headdress that appears in the film. And of course, she does have a stud down here, so she can attach to studs if she wants to. And I did sculpt her tail a little bit. I did sculpt a little bit of her stuff, but yeah, she does have a little bit of back sculpted armor. But yeah, man, there she is. She does use a stud as a minifigure head, if you can tell. But yeah, there she is, man. There is the Chameleon from Kung Fu Panda 4, the big bad that wasn't that big and wasn't that bad. She just pushed down somebody from a flight of stairs. But anyway, there she is. And that is the last figure of the Kung Fu Panda showcase. However, I did make 4 bonus figures that does not count for the figures in this showcase. So we are going to take a look at that, starting off with the first bonus figure. Here is the first bonus figure we have. We have Jack Black. And yes, I made Jack Black because, of course, you couldn't have a showcase without Poe, without Jack Black. No, the only reason why I made this was actually because Lego actually came out with a Steve figure from the Lego Minecraft movie. Yes, I did watch a Minecraft movie. It was pretty good. But yeah, they did make Steve from the Minecraft movie, which will I be making a set review on the set that I actually purchased? Probably not. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, they did make a Jack Black technically figure. So I had to use the face to actually make my Jack Black figure, which yes, the face is just from the Minecraft figure, which I think looks really good for Jack Black. And yeah, I think it looks really awesome. The suit that I actually made was from his one of his things where he accepted an award for being a good comedian or something like that. It was one of the MTV awards or something like that, which he had this panda hat, which is the only reason why I was going to make him at his premiere for Kung Fu Panda 4, which he had that outfit on. But I wanted to make this outfit because of the panda hat, which the panda hat actually uses a hood piece with the middle cut out and then the sanded at the bottom. And then I just sculpted the little pieces at the front and the ears. And then I also sculpted a little bit of a belly for him as well. And then I just combined both of those. And yeah, there's Jack Black. Pretty cool figure. Will I be displaying him as the Steve figure? Probably not. I'll probably be just displaying him as my custom Jack Black figure that I made. And once again, if you wanted to, you could give him this hairpiece if you wanted him without the hat, because he wears the hat and then immediately throws it off in the thing. Just watch the video if you guys don't believe me. But yeah, it's funny, but he does wear a panda hat, and I wanted to find him something wearing a panda suit. So this was it. So yeah, there's the first bonus figure, Jack Black. Pretty cool figure. Just kind of a gag, but yeah, there he is. Here's the next bonus figure. We have Adversary, also known as the punching bag, from the very first Kung Fu Panda film, also the 4th. But this is the thing that Poe kind of punches in the first movie. And then it knocks his tooth out and stuff like that, if you guys don't remember. But yeah, just a kind of a Lego inside and then sculpted all around for all of the detail that you guys see here. And then I did make his face and then his eyes and everything like that. I think it turned out pretty cool. Is it perfect? To my standards, no. But it's a bonus figure and it was fun. And I kind of did this on a whim where I made this whole kind of pill thing. And I was like, I have no clue what to do with this now. And then I just decided to sculpt ears on it one day and call it a day. The detail is pretty cool. Very simple. Kind of base it off of the panda, the adversary, how he looks in the film. But yeah, there is the Adversary. Turned out pretty cool. Next figure we have is Panda Ping. Panda Ping is a pretty cool marketing thing that happened when Kung Fu Panda 4 released. In Kung Fu Panda 4, there is a quick scene where Mr. Ping wears a panda outfit, which I thought was pretty funny. And there was a lot of promotion for plushies and everything like that that came out around this time as well. That kind of had him in this suit. So I wanted to make him. So basically what I did is I basically copied Mr. Ping again. So I had to resculpt him again. And yes, he is a bit different. I know in the beak and everything like that, but I couldn't really copy it because I had to do the same techniques that I did for him. And then what I did after that was I sculpted the panda hat on top, which was very fun and looks really cool. And yeah, and then there's his beak, and then in the front is stuff. And it's just Mr. Ping, but just repainted to look like a panda with a panda hat on. I thought it was very fun to do because, well, I thought it would be a pretty fun bonus figure. So yeah, there is Panda Ping, and now time to go on to the final bonus figure. Here is the final figure in this showcase. We have Dream Po, which is basically Po when he is dreaming in the very first film when he is beating up all the people and stuff like that. This is the very first style of the film, which you're probably wondering, why is he in a statue look? Because as you guys probably know, this figure is not posable. He is stuck like this, and yeah, he's basically just a statue figure. And the reason why I made him like this instead of making him like Po is because I didn't really think that a minifigure would suit him. Because originally I was planning to make him a minifigure. Here are some preview images. I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of boring. Because I already made Po, and this is a bonus figure, so he's not really a part of the showcase. He's kind of just a bonus figure. Because if he was a part of the showcase, then there'd be about 36 figures, I think. But there's 32 figures, not including these guys because these are bonuses. So I wanted to do something unique and cool, so I went for Dream Po because this is the first time that we meet him, and he is in a very cool stance, and I think I did a pretty good job at making him. And I was going to make a lot more of these statue figures, but I thought Dream Po was the only one that I was going to make, and I think he turned out really cool. Once again, I planned on him being a minifigure, but I just didn't think it worked. I thought it would have been cooler if he was in the pose that he was in the beginning, which I did originally plan on him having a sword, but I don't think it would have looked cool because it would have taken away from this figure, which I think it turned out pretty cool. He does use the Lego hat, and he does, if you couldn't tell, he does use the Doctor Strange cape. I just cut off the top of it and sculpted it on the back to make it look like his cape was flowing, because I am not that great of a sculptor to make a cape flowing. That is just too difficult for me, so I just decided to do that. And the cape also makes him balance because if you look at his feet, he's not really standing on the table. But yeah, there is Dream Po, and that is the final character in Kung Fu Panda. And now, without further ado, let's wrap up this showcase. So that is going to do it for today's video. I hope that you guys like it. I had a very fun time making some of these figures. There was a point where it got a bit repetitive because some of the big things is that a lot of these figures were done. If I wanted to, back in March, when this showcase was supposed to come out, March of 2024, I probably would have met that deadline, even though I had Book of Life on top of that. But I could have made all these figures come out back in 2024. But the reason why it didn't happen is because I wanted to make these figures again because I knew that these figures could be better. Crane and Shen and a lot of these figures, even Oogway and Shifu, I made them already. This is the original photo that I had of all the figures. You can see Mr. Ping is different. You can see all these figures are different because I didn't like how they turned out. I thought I could do better, so I decided to redo them. So yeah. And I think that this is better. I think that I would not go back. Maybe I would go back on some figures and redo them in the future. But from now on, I feel like these are the definitive. And these are much better than my original showcase. And I just kept wanting to finish them. And yeah, so that's kind of the big thing on why this video took forever. Another big thing that I kind of left out this whole video is why have I been gone since January? And the reason why is, if you guys can tell by this new desk, this is actually a new workstation. I am not in the same house that I was in when filming the original video. So every video from January and backwards was all at my old house. This is my new house. And a big thing is that I really didn't want to make a lot of Lego videos now. I've mostly kind of chilled out on making Lego videos, and that's kind of going to be from here on out. The reason why I wanted to make this was because I planned on making this years ago, and I wanted to finally finish these figures, because if I never came back to this channel, I knew that I would have ended off on a bang. That's why I made these figures, and I wanted to finish them, because I don't know if I'll continue this Lego videos, because yes, sure there are Legos that I did get since I moved. Mostly all of the January wave of sets and all that stuff, the Sonic sets and all that stuff I got. But I was moving, so I put them in a box and stuff like that. And I will be thinking about throwing some of them away probably, because I'm just growing up. And also I graduated high school, so I don't go to high school anymore, which means that adulthood is hitting. So I just also really wanted to finish these figures, because if this is the last video that I'm going to make on the channel, I'd rather it be this video than some video of me saying, oh, bye. I really wanted this to be a really good video and really cool. So yeah, and once again, I planned on it years ago, and I knew if I didn't make a video on this, I'd probably go crazy. I'm kidding. But yeah, that's kind of it for today's video. Will I come back with a video tomorrow or the next day or the day after this? Probably not. If I ever do come out with videos, it'll probably be once every time like this, because I'm not going to really binge every Lego figure now, because once again, I've gotten into media, so I'm probably going to be making more films and stuff like that. And I've just kind of moved a little bit past Legos. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this big showcase, because to kind of end it off, you know what I mean, as a big bang, because yes, these are some of my favorite figures. And yeah, that is it for today's video. And I hope that you guys liked this showcase. I know that I hope it was worth the wait for 2 years. Kind of, it was 2.5 years a bit. I hope it was worth the wait. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace out and bye.